Hello there, Tarky here. Does it sometimes seem as though you're playing a giant board game against the government, life and the universe, and things don't seem to be going well? You may well be right. Sometimes the dice aren't loaded in your favour. This is Tory Snakes and Ladders. As we sweep across this board, the problem that's facing the country becomes rather obvious. The snakes are the Tory reptiles that have been in charge of the United Kingdom for the last 13 years. That's 13 wasted years, and yet all of these third-raters seem to believe that the problems now afflicting the United Kingdom are nothing to do with their policy since they were elected in 2010. Charlatans all of them unimpressive politically, and the dice really do seem to be loaded against us because they're being thrown by the Tory party. One of the most swivel-eyed loons is one Jacob Rees-Mogg. His pet, the retained EU legislation bill, is currently passing through Parliament and basically aims to remove the perceived taint of former EU legislation from UK statute books. Unfortunately for ordinary UK workers and UK businesses, this may well mean the removal of so many of the protections that we ordinary people take for granted. In Britain's long-running rail strikes, Transport Secretary Grant Shapps makes minimal effort to negotiate with the RMT and bring these strikes to a halt. Health Secretary Steve Barclay makes minimal effort to meet with nurses striking for the first time in their history, and then has the temerity to suggest that any pay deal may need to be linked to increase in productivity, even though nursing is understaffed already. And the utterly batshit crazy Suella Braverman continues her one-woman crusade against asylum seekers attempting to cross the Channel to reach the United Kingdom, and to reduce net immigration into the tens of thousands, which seemingly is in opposition to the rest of her party. Quite incredible, really. And of course the whole country plods on under austerity too, reintroduced by Chancellor Jeremy Hunt, because his immediate predecessor, Kamikaze, helped crash the UK's financial standing. It's not bad news for everybody, of course. As always, chief executives are doing very well. Fossil fuel producers and consumers doing very well indeed. Bankers and all shapes of the financial industry. And of course, ultimately, those much treasured supporters of the Conservative Party and their major donors, the ultra wealthy. It isn't all bad news, of course. The sheer venality of too many Tory MPs, coupled with the incompetence of too many of the current cohort, does mean, for example, that Liz Truss stepped on a snake of her own making. Nadhim Zahawi, the party chairman, managed to make a snake created from his own tax affairs. And of course the chief reptile himself, Boris Johnson, still roams the board. Although he trod on his own snake, there seem to be a considerable number of people who want to put him back on the ladder. Tory donors and other wealthy people who believe that he should be returned to the post of Prime Minister. That really is quite unbelievable. It truly does seem as though the dice are weighted against ordinary people. Finally, there is perhaps a way that agency can be restored to ordinary workers, and indeed legitimacy given to a sensible and serious government which will follow this hopeless Tory administration. On Wednesday the 1st of February, teachers, university staff, civil servants and train drivers will all be going on strike in perhaps the nearest thing this country has had to a general strike since 1926. Surely this must provoke some response from the Conservative Party, other than of course, their stepping into authoritarianism and the insistence that minimum service levels will need to be provided in future. There's a piece of flawed legislation, if there ever was one. I don't know if it will have that effect, of course, but it will mean the Tories' popularity rating plummeting even more. And if nothing else, it might perhaps mean that we've got them by the dice. Anyway, let's see what happens.
Hi, sorry, got carried away. Thought I'd try playing the snake illustration, but I have to try and operate the remote control with my pipe, and it doesn't really work. Oh well.